Come on in, sit back, relax, and listen to episode 146 of the Wealth Tech Today podcast. I'm your host, Craig Iskowitz, founder and CEO of Ezra Group Consulting. This podcast features interviews, news, and analysis on the trends and best practices all around wealth management technology. Our topic for this month is artificial intelligence, machine learning, and predictive analytics. And we've lined up some awesome guests for you to talk about the latest advances in all these things all around wealth management. A few statistics to share with you. A recent survey showed that more than 9 in 10 top businesses surveyed report having an ongoing investment in artificial intelligence. Another survey showed 61% of employees say that their adoption of artificial intelligence within their workplace has led to a boost in their productivity. So I'm expecting a lot more of these stats to come out where we're all sure that AI is going to be helping and can be very useful in many different areas, specifically around wealth management and financial advisors. And I'll be introducing our guests for today, who are Wilbur Swan and Yelena Malamed from Catchlight, in just a second. But first, let me explain how important data is to the success of any AI-based initiative or any technology-driven program. And this is why Ezra Group has launched our data assessment service for enterprise wealth management firms. We conduct an in-depth review of data sources, downstream consumers, data utilization, and we deliver a comprehensive strategy and roadmap to get your data architecture under control. For more information on Ezra Group's data assessment service, go to ezragroupllc.com. And a couple of quick housekeeping notes before we continue. Please subscribe to this show wherever you listen to podcasts so you don't miss an episode. Make sure to check out our sponsor, the Invest in Others Charitable Foundation at investinothers.org. And now let's kick this thing off.
All right, I'm excited to introduce my next guests on this episode of the podcast. We have Wilbur Swan, CEO of Catchlight. Hey, Wilbur.
Good afternoon.
And we have Yelena Malamed, head of product for Catchlight.
Yeah.
Glad you guys can make it. Glad we're here. Where are we all calling in from?
Boston, Massachusetts.
Love Boston. Great place to be. How's the weather up there now?
Your typical spring day, sunny and 40.
I was going to say sunny in the 40s, right? Barely
Right.
above freezing point. That's what we love about Boston. Cool. All right, so I'm glad you guys are here. Let's just jump right in. Can you please give us the 30-second elevator pitch for Catchlight?
Sure, happy to do so. Catchlight is the first of its kind lead optimization solution for financial advisors, designed to help them accelerate their growth. Very simply, we use AI and data to analyze an advisor's leads, to recommend to them who to call, how to pitch, and what to pitch week after week. So each week they're getting better and better at finding their best prospects and converting them.
I really thought this was interesting when we met, and we met a couple weeks ago, and I saw your product, and I was really excited by it. So, can you explain a little bit more about the lead optimization? So you're not lead generation, which is very different. There's a lot of products that do that. You are lead optimization. Can you explain the difference?
Absolutely. So we are analyzing at this point 100,000 successful conversions for paid advice relationships through a random forest model, which is our machine learn model, and aligning and assessing what characteristics really make up a reason for a person to convert. We're then taking that insight and identifying and scoring similarities across advisors' lead lists. And that allows us to hand a score over to an advisor for them to organize their thinking about their prospect list and really focus their attention on their best bets. For us, what's been interesting is watching the advisors use this day to day. And the more they use it, the smarter it gets. It really tailors itself to how an advisor does business. It's important for us to help advisors get started, pretty turnkey. So when they get started, they're using the baseline model. But the more they use the model, the more they use the product, the more it learns in how they're prospecting and where their niche is. And each advisor is unique in how they do business. And so how we're prioritizing is different. Also, differences come from what we learn about prospects they work with. And we update the way our model interacts with them, the way that our model interacts in general on a pretty regular basis.
You make an interesting point, though, Craig, that we're not doing lead generation. We're not supplying them with net new leads. What we're doing is analyzing the leads that a given advisor has in their pipeline. I would say what we found is over the COVID period, a lot of advisors have kind of gotten into, how do they better market themselves? How do they create a brand? How do they personify that brand on a website? How do they start doing social media? And as a result of that, not surprisingly, their supply of leads that they have either in their CRM system or in spreadsheets has grown larger and larger. Not surprisingly, given we've all been talking to each other like we're talking to you right now, a lot of that's been over Zoom and other, digital connections versus face-to-face. So you don't know as much about that person. It's oftentimes they just know really a first name, a last name, an email address, a phone number, and maybe one or two other pieces of information. What we're helping them do is understand, what does that entire prospect look like? And how does that prospect sit, as Elena put it nicely? Are they really a top 5 prospect, or somebody that's more in the middle of the pack and might wait for a call in a later week?
And that takes us right to the next topic, which is the Catchlight score. So this is the score that advisors would use to rank their prospects as to which ones to call in what order. So how do you calculate the score? What's going on behind the scenes?
So Craig, we are looking at characteristics which do change over time that kind of identify similarity in past conversion events to characteristics of people. I think the way I simply think about it is the more complex someone's financial situation, the more likely they're going to have a higher score. But it is not a rules-based model. It is a learned model. And so we are really leveraging the machine learning in order to calculate what that score is. So the higher the score, the higher the propensity of someone to need a financial advisor to support them, because it's likely that they are in a very complex situation. More bedrooms, more children, maybe pets. Today, as of the moment we're speaking with you, there are 42 different data elements that go into that score. But we are getting ready to ship an update to our model, which we do on a pretty regular basis. That version is going to have 50. Essentially, what drives people to convert has also evolved over the duration of the pandemic that we just talked about as well. So we're constantly looking at what are the trends in conversion behavior and reflecting that back to advisors.
Now, let me just pick out one thing you said, Elena, that I think is really important. It's not rules-based, it's a learning model. I can't tell you how many companies I hear, they say, we use AI, we're AI-based. And once you dig under the covers a little bit, it's really just a rules engine. It's just a big if-then-else machine. So let's talk a little about your learning model just for a bit. So it learns as it goes. The more you use it, the more an advisor uses the product, the more accurate and the better it is. Would that be a true statement?
That's right. So the more advisors use it, the better it is across the board, but it's also the better it is at reflecting the conditions for a particular advisor, as we've said before, and you know this better than I. Advisors are all very unique in their prospecting approach and their marketing approach. And so what we're hoping that it provides back in value is helping them work as they already work, but be more efficient with their time.
And that's huge. And that goes back to something we talk about a lot in my company, which is scalability of advisors. And scalability isn't just about how many clients you can support, it's how much time you can get back from your technology to spend with your clients. So if I've got a tech that reduces the amount of time it takes me to evaluate a prospect or review my daily list of prospects by half, that's an extra 30 minutes or an hour I get every day that I can do other things. So that makes advisors more scalable, in my mind. Now, can we talk a little bit about the higher score equals a higher propensity to need an advisor. Now, you had told me earlier that higher financial complexity correlates to higher conversion. Can you talk about that?
Sure. So what we're seeing, and again, it changes over time, that there's a number of characteristics, and surprisingly, it's not the characteristics that we commonly think about. You know, higher income, and therefore, it is characteristics that are part of everyday complexity, life events, whatever they may be, the complexity around having to support multiple dependents, and whatever shape that may take. Again, do you have equity? Do you have multiple properties? Do you have properties across state lines? And I'm giving you just some examples. The reality is that how important each one of those data elements are, and as an attribution to that score, varies and varies over time, and also varies across advisors, I'd say.
If you've met one advisor, as they say, you've met one advisor. So everything's going to be different. It's got to be tuned.
Well said.
So we talked about the Catchlight score. Let's talk about what is the Catchlight system. What does it mean? Is it a platform? Is it an engine? What are you guys looking to build here?
We really do see it as an insights engine. It is data meant to help advisors gain more efficiency. Now, we do have a platform, and we like to think about it as an easy to use, fun workflow, but it is just one avenue in how advisors may choose to use our capabilities. We really are not focused on creating a platform here. We are here to support advisors in wherever they work already, with the types of data elements and AI and analytics that makes them more efficient.
I guess to put another spin on that, we do have advisors right now that are interacting on a day-to-day basis with our Catchlight UI, right, which nicely conveys the analytics that we've just talked about. Very simple to use. It looks like a Yelp interface. It's basically 3 screens of workflow. And the idea there was we want to keep this super simple for advisors, something they could really pull up if they said, I have 20 minutes and I want to figure out, who's the best person I can call, what can I pitch them on, and how do I pitch them? That's basically what we're trying to convey in that user interface. Below that, empowered by all the data insight engine that Yulia is talking about, are all the analytics that are going on, which some of the larger firms are starting to tap into on a larger scale.
You mentioned the Catchlight UI. One of the things I liked about it was you selected the fields. So looking at the fields of a prospect on the screen, they're not static. You designed them based on which ones advisors use the most.
We spend a ton of time with advisors in different shapes of data to really monitor what helps them make more efficient, as opposed to taxes their time even more. And so that's where we definitely differentiate, because we recognize that the more actionable we can make the data, the simpler it is to read, the simpler it is to interact with, the more useful. And so to your point, we really boiled down the essence of what was important around the data into that profile. But we're also aware that advisors get to know their prospects as they work with them more, and they see the data, they converse with clients. And so to them, it is a living, breathing thing. And we want to make sure that they can take advantage of AI, and AI can improve based on conversations they're having. So we've built the screens to be living, to your point, and being able to take on the learnings they have on the data, to be able to push feedback on the data back to us, and ultimately use the product more in order for it to be smarter for them.
This is something I talk to a lot of companies about, especially ones that as they grow, they've got so much data that they don't really use. For example, companies that have a lot of reports available, sometimes they have hundreds of reports available. And I said, well, how do advisors know which ones to use? So, well, they kind of go through it, they look around, they see, they talk to their friends. Said, well, why don't you show them? based on all your clients, which advisors are using, or which reports are most used, and rank them that way. So, I like that you're doing that. You're building your system to show, here's what other advisors are doing. Here's this field that they like. Maybe you will like them too. And the odds are high that they will. Let's talk. Can you share any statistics with us about improvement conversions or hit rates or anything around? Which again, realizing you're just a startup, you don't have that many clients yet. But what kind of things are you seeing across your base?
So the firms that we work with today, maybe I'll take a quick step back and make a point that data is very important to us. The quality of data is very important to us, and we tend to backtest the data, backtest the conversion success a lot with the firms that we work with. And so what we're seeing on a pretty regular basis, that typically we're able to pinpoint kind of a mix of leads and clients, if you will, and bubble up their clients already won to the top of the list with our scoring methodology, which is just another way for us to confirm that this is a methodology that works and it is effective. Furthermore, advisors tend to use the product in very diverse ways because, to your point, they are very diverse. Some are seeing 2 to 3 times better conversion results. So we see advisors going from like a 3% conversion to a 9% conversion success, which is exciting. We worked with an advisor who is very focused on his digital marketing efforts, and so far, before using the data that Catchlight makes available, he was getting pretty mediocre engagement rates from the content he was shipping out, and he spent a ton of time in building that content. So it was very important to him that he deliver that content to the right clients and the right prospects. And so leveraging the data that he lifted out of Catchlight, he was able to get to 5 times the engagement rate that he had before, which is really exciting to see because it really just makes more efficient not the prospecting efforts that he has, but also the work that he's already attributed to building the content, building the engagement, and really putting to work the leads that he already has in his funnel.
That sounds impressive.
Mention that we are going to be doing a bunch of press next week related to T3 in Dallas, which we're excited about as part of basically a public relations related launch. But we have been out actually working with advisors in production environments since last summer, and we've had paying clients since October. So we've actually got real experience based on real data, based on people are putting real money into the system.
It's always a different game when you've got paying clients.
Oh yeah,
they have different expectations.
Yeah.
I'd like to believe that we continue to push ourselves and have stronger and stronger expectations of ourselves. So for us, what's important is what other data can we get in front of advisors? What else can make them more efficient? What other capabilities, tools, features don't tax time, but again, create more capacity for an advisor to react to kind of that point in time conversation, but also reflect back in their entirety of their prospecting funnel. And are they going in the direction that, let's say, even the practice management exercise would suggest that they do on their existing book, right? Are they going into the direction to build the book of the future that they want?
So let's talk about use cases. For people listening to this, RIAs and other wealth management firms who want to use your product, can you give us a use case for how it would function in a real life scenario?
For the simplest, and I'd say the majority of our paying users are single advisors who've bought a single seat for themselves, and they're saying on Monday morning, okay, I've got 20 minutes. I want to think about how I might grow my business. Very simply, who's the best prospect I should call? And as I said before, what would be some good concepts to pitch that person, and how should I engage with that person? Basically a jump start on, how do you optimize your sales results in a given week.
That's a
So
good
the
one.
other
So
use
that's the
cases that we're
advisor
hearing,
use case.
though,
Right.
once you introduce a firm to these types of capabilities and this type of AI, marketing teams oftentimes start to think about the application of this. So as Yelena said, they'll think about, okay, so let me look at a larger pool of leads and think about, how do I begin evolving my marketing to more personalized and segmented marketing? So we're providing insights to them to say, okay, well, if you've got a particular piece of content that's related to charitable giving, for example, here's how you might filter this list of leads down to a group that it'll particularly resonate. And as Yelena said, what they see, not surprisingly, in a lot of industry studies validate this, is that when you reach out to people in a personalized way, your response rates go up proportionally. Last we've seen, and this is really something we've been working on the last few months, is that as you get several advisors at a firm using the solution, oftentimes the C-level folks, the executives, begin to look at this and say, this is really pretty interesting. To date, a lot of this pipeline data that I would like to see has oftentimes been in a given CRM system dedicated to a given advisor. And what they say is, this is giving me a unique ability to begin to understand in aggregate across my firm, or across several advisors in this case, but potentially across the firm, what does the pipeline look like? Does it compare to where we think the strategy of the firm is going? Is the pipeline big enough to support the level of growth we aspire to? How could we help our advisors begin to shape that pipeline so it's even more productive for them and in turn for the firm?
I'm sure a lot of companies would love to know that, because they've got these pipelines, they've got these maybe large CRM tools that can show them how many prospects there are, but they can't rank them or rate them or really understand, besides, unless they have some really wild guesses, what the actual value of these prospects are, and which ones they should be calling first.
And I'd say, a lot has happened in this space in the last 10 years. CRM's getting very, very sophisticated with data and AI. Large companies, so we're obviously incubated in Fidelity Labs. Large companies do these types of analytics and optimization exercises for their own purposes. I personally think it's great to introduce these type of capabilities to the independent advisors of the world,
because they need help. They surely do. So you've got three use cases: the advisor use case, and I want to save some time. Which prospect should I call? You have the marketer's use case to generate personalized marketing, and we know personalization increases response rates. And we have the C-level. If you're at a larger firm that has an executive board, they'd say, well, hey, we've got these goals to grow at a certain percentage, and it helps them understand if the pipeline across all their advisors, which could be one advisor or 100 advisors or 1,000 advisors, if that pipeline is large enough to deliver on our goals. Would be a fair summary?
Perfect. Yep, perfect.
So now we've got all these tools. We've got the Insight Engine. We've got the Catchlight Score. So there's a lot going on here. And advisors really want things to be easy and simple. They want it to fit into their existing workflow. They don't want to have to go to a separate system or even a separate browser tab. So how does the Catchlight integrate with existing platforms that advisors are using now?
Great question. Totally agree. We are trying to reduce fragmentation, reduce lift for advisors. And so as a result, we really focused a lot on our integration roadmap. We recently launched an integration with Redtail. We are HubSpot enabled. If you weigh the shape of the roadmap with regard to integrations, it's a pretty heavy stack of things that we want to get done. But ultimately, we're underpinned by API-ready solution. So we are ready to integrate and are working with a number of our prospect and customers to build into their existing solutions. Some of them, to your point, is their proprietary data sets. And some of them are existing capabilities such as CRM, digital marketing tools they already use.
There's so many tools going on, so much to integrate with. But I like that your software. Sorry?
We were just out talking to a client last week who is building their own platform, right, for all of their advisors, which we see the larger firms doing. Super interesting. I think it would be really interesting to see what happens with solutions like Snowflake as places where insight engines such as ourselves can operate really effectively. We use Snowflake here extensively within labs, and see potentially as a place where clients could access this data, manipulate it how they wish, and then serve it up wherever they wish.
So bringing up Snowflake, we do a lot of work with data assessments for large enterprise wealth management firms. And of course, Snowflake comes up a lot. Whether they know how to use it or not is a different story. Do you have any recommendations for how, or can you explain how Snowflake is built into your infrastructure?
It's twofold. So we use a separate and proprietary Snowflake instance to do our R&D. That's first and foremost. So a lot of our AI tends to start in conversation with advisors, and then we pull a lot of data and do a lot of work in an R&D environment. And then when we think about how we pipeline the data in and work with the data that we have, that's kind of the secondary space where we leverage Snowflake as well. And so when we think about the various ways we can integrate to Wilbur's point, Snowflake is definitely a shape of something that we could do. Another is an API. And so for advisors that are probably on a larger side or in mid-size, APIs are more comfortable. To your point, when the larger enterprises come in and talk about their existing data and want us to use their data as part of the experience and want to take advantage of the data that we offer, Snowflake is the more comfortable place for them.
Thank you. I'd just like to dig in a little bit on the tech side, not too much, but a little bit to understand how different firms are working with data. And we do a data assessment service for enterprise wealth management firms. And we just had a webinar, which you can find on our website, EzraGroupLLC.com. It's called Data Pollution, how to keep your data lakes from turning into data swamps. So, where we did a lot of Snowflake discussion on that webinar. All right, so you guys are AI based. You're running with a random forest model underneath for statistical analysis, and there's a lot of work on AI based assistance in other industries and other markets. How is Catchlight doing that? Would you consider yourself an AI based assistant, and are you moving in that direction?
I think you can look at what we're doing right now as a smart sales assistant for the advisor, where we're basically taking minimal data about a lead, turning it into a rich profile about the lead, and then doing the AI that we talked about to prioritize that lead in terms of which one to call next. I think there's a lot that could be done for an advisor, potentially like an AI-based assistant, to help them better prepare for meetings, to help them better service clients. I think the trick, like any of these things, is it takes a lot of data to drive those assistants, which I think we, being within Fidelity Labs, a part of the ecosystem here, can get access to. I would say, what's interesting in other industries, you look at medical research, or you look at what's going on in Amazon with Alexa, or Apple with Siri. I think a lot of people are getting used to interacting with AI-based assistants increasingly over time. So I think it could be one, as you look at the next 5-10 years, that could be one of the big productivity drivers in the financial services space.
What we've done, Craig, and you saw in our product, is try to figure out how we can marry the data and research and AI that we're bubbling up with thought leadership on engagement. And so we really are thinking about what makes a particular person stand apart. Maybe they've done charitable giving in the past, and how can an advisor use that information from a pitch perspective, right? Maybe that means that they tie that out to a conversation about charitable giving, and maybe it's a specific type of charitable giving. Perhaps it is a business owner who's done charitable giving, and so the combination of those two assets in terms of thought leadership is a very different type of a discussion, very different combination of things that you may present as a value add, even in that first conversation as an advisor. That is, you can help someone save money and be very effective right off the bat. We're also bringing in thought leadership on the type and style of engagement. So from research that we're aware of is, certain types of people, and sometimes it's by age, sometimes it's by other types of traits, respond better to email versus phone. And so some other aspects of what we do is to try to tie some of the metrics and characteristics that we know about a person into how can an advisor think and shape all of that into the best way to interact with someone so they really stand apart versus somebody else. And that's really where we think that we can offer more value.
That is excellent. All right, we are almost out of time. So you're launching next week. Congratulations. Can you talk a little bit about that and your pricing model?
We're excited. So as Wilbur had noted, we've been working with advisors for a while now, and we started sales in October of last year. So it's really exciting to really dip our toe into the PR launch and really talk about ourselves more widely with more advisors, more shapes of firms. And so that's great. We're excited to be at C3, hoping that folks can find us in the exhibit hall, stop by. We're at booth 811. I think it's exciting to be able to talk about a product. It's equally exciting to talk about the wins that advisors that have used the product to date have had. Pricing, we offer both monthly and annual. Annual at a discount is at $1,500 per seat. What's exciting there is, as we talk to advisors and they really evaluate the price, they evaluate the value that we deliver in the form of the product. They talk about, really takes one client win to make it all worthwhile. And that's exciting to hear. We continue to listen to the feedback, and what's been great about kind of our first crew of advisors and those that will join is we continue to look to them as those folks that shape the product in a pretty continuous way, very directly in the product itself, but also through conversations with us. And so I'm excited for next week. I'm excited for the launch and excited to talk to more advisors about it.
And I will see you at T3 as well next week. I'll be there the whole week. So look me up. I'll be walking around. I'll come find you guys. So how can advisors or other enterprise wealth management firms get in touch with you?
Easiest way would be just to go to catchlight.ai, our website. It's relatively easy to contact us from there. But we could also provide you with contact information if you want to add it to this webcast.
Sure, we'll put that into the show notes. So it's catch, C-A-T-C-H, light, L-I-G-H-T, .ai, not .com or .net, .ai, right? Great. Yelena and Wilbur, thank you very much for being on the program.
It's been a pleasure.
Hey, it's Craig again. Here are my top 3 takeaways from this episode. Artificial intelligence, machine learning are slowly infiltrating just about every aspect of life and work. Catchlight is just one example of how these technologies can be employed to save time, improve efficiency, and increase revenue of advisors. Number 2, Catchlight is a SaaS platform, but API-based, and they plan to make their services available through other applications like CRMs. And this is where I really see their product being the most useful, with tight integration to CRMs, where the advisor doesn't even realize that Catchlight is the one providing the information and reordering prospects, giving them advice on who to speak to and why. I think that's really where a lot of our efforts should be going, rather than throwing lots of data at advisors and making them try to sort through it. You want to have the tools and the algorithms do that work for them, which can save a lot of time and make things more efficient. Another area I liked about Catchlight was their dynamic UI. So they say that fields that are displayed on their screens will change based on their tracking of which ones advisors use the most. And as advisors use the product, it will also be customized for each advisor in their own special way. So the use of this kind of dynamic analysis of data and actions to craft the most useful interfaces, reports, and dashboards, I think will soon be table stakes in all software, but especially in advisor tech software. One feature I've been telling many of our fintech clients to implement is dynamic report lists. So most platforms have some sort of reporting, whether the portfolio management or their CRM or their financial planning or other tools, performance reporting, of course, but they also have some sort of reporting. And oftentimes they could have dozens or even hundreds of reports if it's a big system. Which one do you use? Which one is used most? Which one is the most effective? They already have that data. Pulling that data of which reports are used the most by their other advisor clients, and then sorting the reports based on that would be so helpful for advisors. They just know, here, these are the top 5 reports that other advisors like you are using in this particular area. Could be really, really helpful. And it becomes crowdsourced user interface, right? So the crowd is telling, the wisdom of the crowd is telling you which applications or which reports are the most useful. Show those first. It's called crowdsourced efficiency. And that's the end of this episode. You made it. Thanks. Before I go, please go to our website, EzraGroupLLC.com, scroll to the bottom of the homepage and sign up for our newsletter. Every month, you'll receive an email chock full of wealth management goodness, news, information, updates, analytics, lists, all kinds of stuff. You will not be disappointed. Thanks again, and talk to you all next time.